I started my YouTube channel out originally doing videos about emulation. I did a bunch of tutorials on RetroPie, how to configure things, get a build running. My intentions with those videos were to teach people how to do it themselves instead of buying an overpriced build from someone else. The reality is that there are many people who they just don't want to build their own setup and would much rather buy something pre-built ready to go. Just a simple plug and play with all their favorite games. And realize, I understand this. Myself, I do prefer the route of doing it myself to save money, but if starting from scratch, it can be time consuming. I would say instead of buying a setup someone else downloaded, to just download it yourself. But there are many reasons people either don't want to do this or they simply just cannot, and they still much rather go the route of paying for a device already set up. So I realize these products that can be looked at as shady or Soulja Boy'd up are still big interest to a lot of people. In today's video, I have the Pawky Pad Super Game System 1TB build to share with you guys. This isn't something I'd normally buy, but after getting many requests to take a look at it, I just had to spend the money so you don't have to. Or really to give you a better idea of what you'd be getting yourself into if you bought one as well. This thing cost me a little bit under $100 with shipping. There are a couple different variants, a 500 gigabyte and a 1TB. I went for the 1TB. Go big or go home, right? Now, first off, the main thing you need to realize is that this is not a console. It's a hard drive that comes with controllers. You plug the hard drive into your PC, and it's essentially a portable build. Not quite plug and play, but pretty close. It does require you to have your PC boot from this drive instead of the drive that you would normally use for your regular operating system. This is fairly simple to do. Depending on your desktop or laptop, you may have a specific key to press while booting up to select which drive to boot from, or you may have to enter your BIOS to select the drive to be the one to boot into. Just depends on your PC, but you may have to press delete, F12, F11, or any other number of keys to get into your BIOS. For me, I have to hold the function button and press F2, so it's just going to depend. But once you get that done, you're pretty much ready to go. So this drive, it's advertised to have over 45,000 games. And that includes stuff from Dreamcast, PlayStation 1, all the way through PS3, the Nintendo Wii, Wii U, GameCube, Sega Saturn, 3DO, and pretty much any other retro console you could think of are all playable through Batocera Emulation Station in this build. Now, this setup, it comes with a carrying case for the drive and for the controllers. The controllers that it includes are fairly shitty PS2 knockoffs, but they get the job done. There's just no weight to them. They feel really crappy, very cheap. But you can use whatever controllers you wish, for the most part. Now, this may all sound like a pretty good deal for what you're getting. A hard drive preloaded with thousands of games, pretty much ready to go. Especially when you look at 1TB external drives, how much they're going for nowadays. It's actually more than what you would think. It was more than what I would think anyway for a lot of name brands. And I guess this is probably due to 1TB drives not being bought as much anymore. So the prices are a little higher than what you would imagine. I guess. I don't know. But with this drive, it's 1TB external drive. It seems to work fine. I haven't had any issues with it, like heat or just it not working. Everything worked fine. But it is housed in a fairly cheap feeling and looking shell. It doesn't look horrible. It is fairly slim at least, and it has a little Pawky mascot pixel art on there that's silk screened. It looks okay, I guess, but you're not looking at the drive while you're using it, so whatever. It works. Now, while watching this video and seeing the footage of some of these games, please realize this is not a review of the performance of any particular system. Performance for some of these consoles included on the drive will depend on your PC specs. But most of the stuff here shouldn't have any issue running on a decent desktop from, maybe 5 years ago, if not longer. for the most part, everything should run okay. But there's still things to note that you must really understand with something like this. If you are expecting a mostly plug-and-play retro gaming experience, that will all just really depend. If using the included controllers doesn't seem like you need to worry about configuring controls for the most part, outside a few little exceptions like the Wii, you may have to mess around with controllers. And a lot of controllers that you just plug in will automatically be configured if you add them, so that's fine. No big deal on the controller part of things. But if you expect this build to be optimized in the sense that everything is set up for you, you will be disappointed. It's just the nature of the product. It's a hard drive. They don't know what, resolution your monitor will be, what your audio output source will be, what emulators will work best for the PC that you use, and all the little settings behind all that. So you will have a lot to figure out here if you have never messed around with a build like this. You'll be looking at tutorials out the ass, trust me. But the default settings for most consoles should be an okay starting point. You will, though, still find a lot of stuff that just doesn't work until you set them up. Got to keep that in mind. Out the box, I couldn't get PS2 or PS3 to run, and the Wii U mostly just has virtual console games like Super Nintendo stuff, crap like that. I mean, it's not crap, it's cool stuff, but really there's only one or two actual Wii U games included, and I can't get those to boot as well with the default setup. Those are the main issues I ran into, is just those systems when I was testing things out. But I also have to point out, there really is nothing special about this build. It's just not clean. In my opinion, it's a sloppy-ass build. And I don't say that because of all the configurations you'll have to wind up doing. I say it because this build is essentially a lazy build. A ROM dump of a build, if you will. It's easy to dump thousands of ROMs into a front end and just call it a day, but it takes some time and effort to make it shine. This build, you got duplicate games, multiple files that should be hidden, badly scraped and missing snap art. It just looks bad in my opinion. It does take time and effort to put polish on a build like this, and there is really very little effort here from what I've seen from messing with this thing. The game sets for a lot of the consoles are missing big titles, including older systems that are just easy enough to have every single game from that console in this build. But then you'll also get the stuff like the PlayStation 1. You'll be missing things, and you'll have something in, replacement of it, like Final Fantasy VII, for example. You get a demo disc version of it instead of the full, actual game. It's just sloppy. I don't know if these companies are just downloading random builds they find online, throwing them on a hard drive, or if they're actually building these themselves. Either way, if you want this build to shine, you will have to put in a lot of time and effort, to the point where you may as well just learn how to build one for yourself that actually suits your needs instead. Now, I don't criticize. I know some people lead very busy lives or just cannot download, stuff like this to begin with. But if you still want something just simple and plug and play, you have to realize this product right here that we looked at today may just become a bigger annoyance instead of a simple way to play your games. And is that really worth the money? Appreciate you guys.